Recording.
This meeting is being recorded.
If you didn't all get that, it's very clear now. This meeting is being recorded. Hold on to do that here. Right. So, great. Got it, Christian. Got you. Content. Okay, now I can add you to the thread. Oops. Got it. Okay. Okay, everybody's in. So as we start to paint objects, one of the things that we learn is that as important as color is in the realm of things, we can't just kind of pick color randomly and splash it everywhere, right? We need to make sure our colors match values. What is value and what do I mean by that? What I mean by value is that every color, and it's all relative to the color next to it, reflects lightness or darkness. So the simple way to look at that is that if one is light and 5, over here, 1 is light and 5 is dark. I know I'm doing this with a pencil, but we'll end up doing it with a brush. 2, 3, and 4 are shades of gray that get varyingly darker, right? This is value. So it's the lightness or darkness of any color. And it's also, it's important to make sure that when you create your values, there's a lot of contrast between your lights and your darks, because we are working with a flat surface, right? So the only thing we can do to convey the idea of 3 dimensions is to, sometimes I have to put my hand here, there we go. The way we can create the feeling of 3 dimensions on a flat surface is to, come on, is to have very strong contrast between our darks and our lights. Okay, so when you're picking colors, your colors have to reflect light and dark, and you can't just assign a color light or dark randomly. You have to look at it in relation to everything else around it. So these are the 5 shapes which make up pretty much everything that we draw, right? In a simplified form, we've got a sphere, we've got cubes lit from different directions. We've got these cylinders, and then, I don't know, a cylinder with a hole in it, whatever you, a pipe, whatever you would call it, right? And you'll notice that depending on the direction of the light, you have different shades kind of making things darker. So we're going to practice drawing these in pencil. And then if you don't have a paint, you will continue to work with a pencil to create the shading, or I'm going to show you how to create shading with your brush. You'll have some flexibility on picking colors, but it's going to be very important that you make sure your contrast is good. And not only that, we're going to be practicing the difference between soft edges, right, where there's not a strong line between the light and the dark, but there is a transition from lighter to darker, and hard edges, like here, where like there's an actual edge. So that is what we're going to be practicing. Hard and soft edges are the knit and purl of the painting world. If you can't do them, you can't paint. So that's what we're practicing today. So I'm going to be demoing in an acrylic paint. What that means is, and oh yes, and let me send this across so that you guys have a picture of this. I dropped my phone because it's early in the morning for me. For Annika and I, it's like 8 something. Let's see. So I'm going to add this picture so you guys can see it. So I've just now texted this picture over to you, so you have it, because it seems to be confusing my computer right now. We're just going to go right over here. Okay, so we're going to start with the sphere. And really the sphere starts with just a very simple circle. And then to place this sphere on a location, this is my favorite thing to do. I'm a big believer in shortcuts. So the quickest way you can show that something is, somewhere is to draw a line that lines up if I were to draw it straight through, but right skips the actual sphere. Now we have the wall and the table and the sphere. And we are going to presume that the light is coming from this side. You can draw this or you don't have to. I'm drawing that in so you can see it. And because the light is coming from this direction, the shadow is going to go this way. So one of the quickest ways to determine what direction the light is coming from, which is very important to know, when you're painting or drawing, is to see what direction the cast shadow is going, right? When I say the cast shadow, I mean the shadow that's underneath the object. So go ahead and sketch that in. If you want to, you can send it over to me. If you think you've got it, you don't have to. I like to send these over just so people can see closer. And now I'm gonna move to painting to really show this. So this is a piece of palette paper. It's kind of shiny on one side. It's easy to throw away. It's probably, some artists use palettes where you just pile up more paint on top of the old paint that's dried. I don't really like to do that. So I use a new one of these every time. You can also use a bunch of other things, but you'll find that's easier. Yeah, excellent, Annika, great. Yeah, and save room on your piece because we're going to do more. And let's see, I'm going to give myself, I'm going to say, I think my green is going to be fairly dark. So I'm giving that's a green, but you can pick any color that you think is going to look dark. To make this easy, I guess we should just give ourselves some white so that we can mix different values. And then, I don't know if you guys can see this here. I'm going to add my screen for a second so you can see my setup. So I'm sitting, here I am in the studio. Here, hold on. This is, you'll hear a lot about this guy. Wait. This is Hermes the cat. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. You'll be seeing a lot of him. We like our pets, so don't feel shy to introduce them to us. Sometimes you can't help it. They just insist. And then here I am sitting here. I'm gonna do this. So I'm kind of sitting at a drawing desk. I'm definitely sitting at a drawing desk. I've got my sheet that I'm going to paint on here. I've got my palette knife right next to me. I've got brushes and water up here. We'll talk about brushes in a second. You won't be able to see me when I'm looking really close, but just know that I'm often, if I'm moving my brush away, I'm dipping it in the water. You don't have to have your thing dip upward. I find it really easy. Oh, Christian, excellent. You got it. You got it. Great. So the darkest, I'm just trying to think of how to do this. So the darkest parts of this, I'm going to label them by number. If 1 is light and 5 is dark, we've got 5 here on the cast shadow. We've got like light comes down, it bounces off, and there's a total like almost absence of color, like a white flash. And then from about here, this is a 1, maybe a 2, 1 to 2. This is a 3. This is the 4. And then right before we turn around, there's something called a reflected edge, which goes back to 2. that means another light source is hitting it in another way. And if you, here, I'll take a picture of this so you can see this. And if you don't know to look for it, it's very subtle. Once you know to look for it, you'll see it everywhere. If you look at it, your face, like here, I don't know if you can see this. So my face is technically a sphere. It's more complicated. And let's see, the light's coming from here. I'll make it really obvious. You will actually see this kind of little reflected edge happening. Trying to shine light on my face so you can see it. Oh yeah. Can you see? So this is the light's coming from this direction. As it comes here and starts to turn around right at this edge, there's a slight lighter flash. It's not as light as what's happening up here, but it's definitely light. So that's something that is always happening. It's something that's helpful to remember. When you put it into your paintings, they really show a lot of depth. So there's a lot of things that are spherical. So we're going to start. I like to start with the darkest. Let's talk about brushes for a minute, because we're working fairly small. Now, some people like to use pointy brushes. I'm looking to see if I have any. I don't really like pointy brushes very much. I don't use them. Some people like to use more pointy brushes. I very often prefer what's called a flat. It means it has a flat edge. I think this is a good size to start with. If you want to see how big it is, let's see here. Ruler with centimeters. It's about centimeters. So it's about maybe, yeah, 1 centimeter across. Using something smaller than that, which is what people's temptation is to do, makes you think you have more brush control, but it's really an exercise in frustration. You're going to find yourself like not being able to fit, leaving silly marks because the brush is too small. Something like this absolutely is going to drive you nuts, right? So find a brush that's kind of big enough. You can use a pointed one if you want of it, but you know, when people ask me, this is kind of the ideal brush for something this size. When we go into bigger subjects, you'll see that we'll want to go harder, higher. And then I have dipped my brush in the water, so it's wet. I'm going to pull off some green paint, dark green paint, and I'm going to come in here and paint this 5. Now, I'm going to create a hard edge. That means I want the 5 to come right up against this sphere and then stop where the 2 is. So to do that, I'm kind of leaning my hand on my canvas and I'm starting my flat brush at the edge of the sphere and I'm painting away. You will find that fairly, I think, an easy way. You can see I'm doing a little bit of tapping because really it's sort of a hard edge on either side. So you can take any color that's green and you'll see it's easier to create a hard edge if you start on the edge where you want that dark color to start, with that color to start, and you pull backwards rather than trying to push up to it, which I think a lot of people do. Oh yeah, and I kind of forgot, because I have this ceiling and this wall, this sort of table and this wall. I also want them to be kind of on the dark side too, but I want to use a different color. I think I'll take, you at least want it to be a 3 or 4 in value. So here, this is a kind of turquoise. This is what I happen to have. You can use any color you want. I'm cleaning out my brush. I'm taking my very famously known blankie. This is the technical term. It's really a paper towel or a rag. Here, hold on, let me see everybody. And then I'm cleaning off the green so I can come in here and once again paint my wall. So you can see these are pretty similar in value, which is fine. One's a slightly different color. And once again, I'm kind of pulling, I'm loading my brush with paint and I'm pulling up and then kind of tapping. Still working with the hard edge here. It's funny, I did this in watercolor and gouache earlier this week. It's such an entirely different process to do it in acrylic and oil, which is what we will do when we do this. We're going to do the same exercise on Sunday. There we go. Just so I have like a little bit of color. It's a little choppy. I'm kind of coming in and smoothing it out. So it goes back to being spherical. And now, one of the really great things about acrylic paint and oil paint is that you can layer darker on top. It dries quickly with acrylic particularly. So this is almost dry on the bottom. I want it to be slightly darker. So I'm going back in with another layer of green. And can you see I darkened it on the next layer? So very often you're going to have to go in on the next layer, but that's okay. You can totally darken it. It's great. So, hi, Tosh. Hi, Linda. Welcome. Good to see you guys. It's so great to be back. We're painting spheres. So Tosh, I know you've already been through this, but this time we're using acrylic. You can use gouache if you want to, though.
I'm gonna do watercolors because I didn't do that last time.
Yeah. Do whatever you want. And if you want to, I have watercolor paper out so I can demo for you if you need it.
Good morning.
Diana, Happy
Diana.
New Year. All right, we have some new people. So later in the session, we're going to introduce everybody.
Okay, I
All right.
overslept. I overslept for once.
Good for you. I know you've been working like crazy. So
Yeah.
sorry to hear about the gala.
Yeah.
But there's
Well,
always June.
What happened? It's canceled?
yeah, I can't. I
Or is-
cancel. I don't dare doing a live event in.
Right.
No, you
But
shouldn't.
it's
That's
not
good.
completely cancelled, right? Or is it completely cancelled?
No, we do a virtual event.
Oh, okay.
Which sucks. Isn't as fun, I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Oh, whoops. And I can see when I changed my light, I did not do myself any favors. Better. Yeah. Okay. So once you've got that, go ahead. One or two people send it over. And also, I want to make something really clear, particularly to the new people. It's very important for me that you not rush this process. So these classes are really, particularly these January classes, are really an attempt to slow the process down. Because once we start painting photos, it's a lot that needs to get done in 2 hours. So these classes are really designed to kind of help you get accustomed to some of the things we're going to do. Get used to the brushes, get used to the idea of color, get used to laying your equipment out. Let's see. Yeah, perfect, Christian. Lovely. Lucy, yeah, Lucy, Christian, great job, guys. Perfect. Nice. Linda, excellent. Okay, so you're going to paint your 5 in here and maybe a 5 or 4 here. You can pick a different color for this one. So to start this, so we've got the easy part. We've done the hard edges. Now, the rest of our transitions have to be lighter edges. So softer edges. So what is a soft edge? I'm going to show you what a soft edge. I'm going to show you what a hard edge is too. So a hard edge is like, here is a dark color, right? Here is a light. Too dark. There we go. Here is a light color. Actually, this is looking very much like a soft edge. I want it to look like a dark edge. Okay, so this is, can you see what I mean by hard edge? There's a very distinct line between the dark and the light. It's actually a line. It's great for edges of things. It's great when you're showing really strong, sharp, when you want to sort of make really strong, sharp distinctions. Many transitions, though, are softer than that. So a soft edge, I'll lay this down first. Then is like this. It kind of starts like a hard edge. And then with both sides wet, you push the brush in to create to get rid of any hard lines, but create a gentle transition. You can see it's a little harder. It's easy to kind of move your line, right? It helps to have both of them. Can you see the difference? I'm doing a lot of tapping, still using that flat brush, but I don't want this strong line. I want my line, my transition to be softer. What's really nice in this sphere is that we can actually use that light, that doing the light and dark creates a kind of medium, which is also present, right? Like here's a 1, here's a 2 to 3, here's your 4. So creating a kind of medium in between is totally okay, but we want this to be softer. So as you can see, I'm hanging on. You might try this off your sphere just to practice it. On it, looks great. Okay, and then I like to start with a very light. So I've got white, but I've tinted it with green, just a little bit of green. I like to go over my whole thing. It's acrylic, you can do this because you can make stuff lighter. The whole sphere is one kind of light color, maybe a 1, maybe a 2, right? And then where I add in my 3, I'm going to take some, I'm going to brush in some darker. And now I'm going to take a little bit of light color on my brush and kind of try to soften that edge between the light. Some messy business. See that? So I'm trying to soften my edge, and then I'm taking my darker color and I want to get even darker. So there should be 3 distinct values in this shadow part. You can see a lot of tapping, and don't forget to preserve your little light reflected edge. So don't paint up all the way to the edge of the sphere. So right now, the way I've laid down the paint, I have kind of a nice transition going from light to medium, but definitely I need more of a strong medium that is lighter than my dark on the sphere. So you'll find yourself going back and forth a lot to try and get, right? This is a little too hard. So now I'm going to be coming in here. I'm trying to soften it. You'll find you'll soften one edge and then you're like, darn it. Now I have to now I have to go to the other side. And then when you think you've got it, you're going to take a nice big chunk of white on your brush like this, and you're going to give yourself the reflected edge. See how that starts to have a little bit of glow to it? So I want you to practice this. Hello, buddy. Sometimes you can take your finger. It helps. It really is true that both sides should really be wet as you're creating this soft edge. And if it seems harder than it looks, that is absolutely true. This is kind of like, so let yourself be kind of a little dissatisfied with this as you're pushing yourself through this. I want you to let go of final product because of course, right, we're not really painting anything. We're just practicing brush strokes here. I want to lighten this a little bit. I want my light area to be a little lighter. And you'll find that the softer your edges are, it's really a lot about tapping. Tapping. Instead of full on brushing. Although I can also kind of lightly blend in, pull in my brush so that there's this kind of little draggy thing happening. I feel like I've lost my, so I'm continuing to go a little bit lighter here because I feel like I've lost my light transition to my medium It happens. Using your finger is not cheating. There we go. So what is everybody, so for those of you who are not doing, okay, now I feel like I've lost a little bit of my dark, so I need to just darken a little. Whoa, that's very dark. To lighten my paints, I'll put more water in. Or I just simply. So you see how much futzing I'm doing, going back and forth with this? It's valid, the futzing. You can see that after about 3 strokes, I get too much dark. So if I want to keep that going, I have to keep reloading my brush with lighter or darker, just depending on what area I'm working. Be the sphere. This exercise is from one of my absolute favorite books on painting. It's interesting. It's actually a drawing exercise. I've turned it into a painting exercise, but it's actually a drawing exercise. If you're ever looking for a good book on painting, you will know you have it when the book includes, so this is one of the first books I ever, you can see how sort of messy it is. You can see I got paint all over it. I've used it like over and over again. For those of you who don't know, I started painting when I was 30, actually 32, not even 30, 32. And that was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And I was a journalist before that. I'd never painted. I had never drawn. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I found that I was kind of naturally attuned to the brush, but there were a lot of things I didn't understand about drawing and painting. And this book really was extremely helpful for me at the beginning. And you'll see here, so any good painting book is going to include at least one lesson with drawing. She has a lot of drawing exercises in her painting book. So the point being, those two things are linked. Drawing is really linked to painting. You cannot paint representationally without being able to draw and understanding how to solve the drawing problems. The great news is that solving drawing problems is one of the most interesting and fun ways you can engage your brain. It isn't intuitive. It is not intuitive. You have to be taught it. Just like reading, learning to read is not intuitive. You have to be taught. Learning to drive is not intuitive. You have to be taught. But once you learn it, it becomes a very flexible part of how you live your life, and it will change a lot. Oh, Diana, have you worked on this at all, or have you in between? Did you work on this at all?
No, an hour yesterday with Sandra.
Okay, great. Good.
I haven't had time to paint.
Sandra, what are you working on?
So if you remember, Leah, I had drawn a lion last time I was with you.
Oh, yes.
And you thought there was something slightly wrong with it and you couldn't put your finger on it.
Okay.
And I traced it and figured out exactly what the problem was.
What was it?
I made the part where the eyes are too big. But because I like big eyes, I decided it still worked and proceeded. Yeah. So I'm now painting it.
That's wonderful. Can you send a picture?
Where I'm at.
Can you send a picture across the thread? It looks
sure.
Great. You know, Sandra, that is a great problem solving. It's good to know because you're like, sometimes it matters and sometimes it actually doesn't. You're right. There's a stylized thing. You are at the point, I totally support you in this. You are at the point where you can start making those decisions. I just want to know that you're making them, right? Like you are slightly exaggerating the size of things. That's okay. It's wonderful. I know it's kind of freeing, isn't it? To go, but I'm proud of you because you continue to figure it out. I mean, look, a painting is not a photograph. Right? When the camera was invented in what, 1860s, 1870s, before that, the painting was the photograph. After the camera was invented, all these painters went out of work because they thought of the painting as the photograph. Now we know that the painting is a different, we expect in our contemporary brains, we have an expectation that the painting is different. right, than the photograph. And that is kind of the beginning of the Impressionist movement. It's the beginning of a lot of things where artists stopped requiring that they be so tight, right, with their representation, and began getting looser. And then, of course, leading to abstraction and all kinds of crazy other things. Now, you know, in the 1800s, people looked at the Impressionists as kind of like, that's not a painting, right? It's somebody who can paint really detailed. Now, in our contemporary life, we look at a really detailed painting and go, that's not a painting. A painting is an Impressionist painting. Like, our idea of a painting has completely changed. In fact, now, artistic photography tries to make their, you know, in fine art photography, photographs try to make themselves look as much like paintings as possible. So these conversations that we have, right, we're going to be working from photographs a lot in this class, but you're going to be finding over time that there's mark making that you like, and there's imagery that you like, and there's things that you like to do. And naturally, that'll just naturally come to you. Sandra loves cats and loves cat eyes. Like, that is a long-standing thing. So as you're going through and learning technique, you're also making decisions about when you're going to veer from the photograph. You're going to veer. People will expect you to. And by the way, they've done studies that show how much time people will spend in front of a photograph versus how much time they'll spend in front of a painting. The average time they will spend in front of a photograph is about 20 seconds. The average time people will spend in front of a painting is about 3 minutes. Because you're looking at it, trying to figure out how they did what they did. And my job is to show you as many tricks as possible to get to your painting, you know, your painting done as quickly as possible. So yeah, send it over. Let's see. Oh, Sandra, that's just looking great.
I haven't begun working there now, just begun.
Ani, that's great. Really good.
So it still looks like a lion, you know, in the end. I don't care.
I love it. I think it's great. I think it's great. In fact, it has a slightly illustrative quality that I really like. It's good. Ah, Tosh, great. Great. Good job. All right. Does anybody want to go on to the next shape? That you don't have to, but I thought I might demonstrate it so that those who are ready, or do you want to try this again in another color? It's up to you guys. You tell me. What do you want to do? Oh, Christian, gorgeous. So Christian, I would say, I really like this. I want to see this area about here. About here, this should get lighter. But I'll tell you,
I wish it was me. It's Lucy.
Oh, is that Lucy? Good job. All right. So
You
Lucy,
don't want to see mine.
okay. Let me tell you, Lucy, it's hard. This is hard. Lucy, what I want to tell you is there's some really great things about this. Number one, I don't know if you guys can see this, but look at her reflected edge. See how light that is and soft the edges? That works out really well. It's kind of dark, like lighter towards the center, and you kind of dabble it out. You need to go back and lighten this.
Yeah.
And work that transition. Okay.
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 Okay. Thank you.
More transitions, but really excellent brush work here. Like, that's just stupendous. Really great. It's kind of fun, isn't it? And it's kind of soft, and it's like, and it's okay. You don't have to. Here, I'll like do a little bit of that myself. This is not an exercise that's designed to be easy to do. It is designed to kind of get you used to brush painting. In fact, I really like what Lucy did. I'm going to try and show you what she did here. She started with kind of a darker center, and then she kind of tapped out. Looks like she did a little swooping. I'm doing a little bit of this. So you want this to be darker, but not quite so dark.
Lei, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, I think a mistake I'm making is if I go too dark, I try to blend on the page. Is that not a good idea? Should I be
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay. But what you want to do as part of that, in fact, that's how I do most of mine, my work. But what you want to do is, if you're going to go too dark, right, and you're going to add light, you still want to add, so you'll notice here I just grabbed a little dark. You want to make sure both sides are wet.
Both sides of the brush are wet.
Yeah, right? But the dark and the light are wet. So that
And
when you come in here, they're both wet. So the sides that meet, they're wet with paint.
Mhm.
So I can create that soft edge. See how I can go back in there? So yeah, you can totally blend and you'll find yourself going back and forth. This is hard. It's not like easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. But you'll find once we start going to things like clouds, like coffee cups, like trees, like grass, that having this practice in, you'll at least have a sense of what you're trying to do. Yeah. Now there's something called I know Emma, for example, Thomason, favors a kind of letting this part dry and dragging light into it, right? Which is great for showing things like snow, right? That also kind of creates a light edge, right? But it's a little bit starker. It's a little bit stronger than what we're looking for here. We want a more steady. We want strong difference between here and here, but we want that transition to be softer. That's because the sphere has sides, but they aren't as defined as, say, the cube, which we're going to do next. So I'm going to sketch out the cube just for anybody who wants to try it. You do not have to try it. You could totally stay in sphere sketching this entire session, and it would be great. But for those of you who are like kind of ready to go on, let me show you a very different kind of shape that also has sides. So we've got the cube, which you draw by drawing the straight line down and then these angled lines up, right? That's perspective. I'm not going to bend your mind with that business today. But just know that these vertical lines are all straight up and down. The horizontal lines are angled. And then this line is kind of angled in one direction. And this line is angled in another. We will also set this on a table. So a little line straight across. Look at that. I love this. It's one line and it makes things like what you look for in painting up, and I think this goes up too high. What you look for in painting and drawing a lot is the one line that's going to make the thing look like it's in place, right? It's one line, one brush stroke, one thing. This line really does it. One line across, with wall, table, or something. Oh, hi, Lucy, I'm going to add you in. And if you're finding this a little bit frustrating, don't worry about it. This is, okay, so Linda, this looks pretty good. You've gotten a little bit too dark here, like Lucy. And also you lost your reflected edge, which is about a 2. So you need to see, you've lost the edge and now you can't see the difference between here, the wall and here. So you want that, you want to add that reflected edge back in there, which is mostly light.
Okay, thank you.
It's hard. It's really hard. This is like, if any of you ever watched The Karate Kid? The original movie, The Karate Kid. Probably everybody here is too young for that. Anyway, there's this whole scene where the kid is like being taught how to like do karate, and his teacher, the first thing he tells him to do is to wax his car. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. That's what it is.
You think we're too young for that?
Yeah. That's
That's
you.
funny.
Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And that's what this is. Soft edges are the wax on, wax off of the art world. And of course he, right, learns to kick somebody's butt by waxing on and waxing off those movements. So that's what we're practicing today. This is less about final product, as I said, than it is about practicing brush strokes. I want you to have opportunities to do that before you start putting pressure on yourself to paint the photos that are eventually going to start coming to us. I really, by the way, loved some of the mixed media waterwork that we did last year. So we're going to stay in sort of acrylic / water-based media painting for 3 months. But towards the end, we're going to be doing a lot more kind of mixing things up, maybe using some charcoal in with our mix, maybe using some pencil, maybe using some gouache in, you know, different kinds of water-based media. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be playing with all the different mediums that you can use. All right, so we've got our cube here. If we go back to, where's my, put it down. Oh yeah, see how much better that is, Linda? See how that places? So definitely you've got your reflected edge in now. So get this a little bit lighter here. I'm kind of losing the transition between light to medium. Annika, pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so let's move on to the cube. And somewhere I had my, hold it down and I see it somewhere. Oh, God, middle age. You can't remember where you put anything. All right, well, I'll just take a look at it. So the next one here, I'll show you this here. Is the cube, right? Oh, wait, can't see that. Next thing here is the cube. Here we go. Can you guys see this right here? Cube is here. Light is coming from here, which means that this top is light. It's like a 1. And so is the side over here. It's also a 1. But we still need to reflect that there is a turn down, like there's a shift in plane here. So, and this is like a 3. Oh yes, and let me draw in the shadow. The shadow looks like this. Right, like that. That's a 5. Let's call this a 4 on the outside. So you can use the same color or you can switch it up. I'm trying to decide if I'm getting bored with dark or not. Kind of like what Christian did with his red background. So maybe, so as you're, this is going to be all hard edges except for one right here, which I'm about to show you. Okay. Let me put my paint back here. Tosh, is this boring even though you've done it once before this week, or do you find it kind of helpful?
No, I find it helpful.
It is helpful, isn't it?
I kind of want to do like the planets or something.
So you should. I love that. If you want to do that, you can totally do that now. You don't have to follow this along. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting my kind of dark, but not super dark, my sort of red dark here. You'll notice I'm once again kind of all, really it's all hard edges except for this one I'm about to show you. Darkening here. Now, to make this interesting and to start to get us into the idea of color mixing, I'm going to mix a little bit of green in. I'm going to put my red and green together. So I have a dark color, but it's not exactly green. It's kind of more like a dark red. Ooh, look at that beautiful dark. We're going to eradicate ultimately black from this class in the sense that the color out of the tube. You're going to learn to mix your own blacks and your own grays. So that is red and green mixed together. Right. And then once again, I'm going to paint this whole thing a very light kind of green color. Too dark. So Pari asked about mixing on the canvas. As you can see here, I'm just grabbing light color and mixing enough, grabbing enough of it to make it light, right? So here we've got light, making this kind of light. We're making this side light. So you can see we kind of lose a distinction when we make these two sides light, even though they're both fairly light. because of where the light's coming from. So here, I'm gonna lay in. It's not light enough. I'm gonna lay in something that's like a 3. It's gonna be lighter than my 5 coarse shadow that it touches below. And then right here, where the edge turns down, I'm gonna take a slightly darker color and soft edge it down. Not very much. Can you see that? That helps me distinguish the top from the side. So I just right at the edge where the top meets the side on the light side, have a slightly darker version that's going down. So try that. And then I can even, if I want to, kind of lighten the top. You might also see that, see how that starts to distinguish.
I'm so
So,
sorry. Can I be annoying?
Of
Can
course.
you just give me a quick breakdown of that again? I was so busy trying to understand. I wasn't actually listening properly.
That's okay.
So
So
you've got,
this,
what are the colors? So you've got the green, the red, and then you've mixed the green and the red to get this, the dark,
yeah,
and then you've added the white as well to get
yeah,
your,
to lighten it a little bit.
okay.
Yep, absolutely. And don't worry so much about that. We're going to talk about that next week. Don't kill me, Claudia. This is the only session I'm going to make you guys do this. Next week, we are going to paint a grayscale painting where you mix all your grays. We are going to practice so that we can isolate, kind of learning how to do grays. Although afterwards, Claudia, you can totally paint it any color you want. But we're going to start with like a gray scale to really practice this idea of mixing colors. It'll be something simple, like a Simply Still Life kind of thing, to maybe even using these shapes. And yes, don't hesitate, Pari, don't hesitate to make me go back and repeat, because I know I go fast. I'm really try not to, but there's so much information I want to convey. And often as I'm like, oh, we're just going to talk about this, I'll do it naturally and then go, oh, that's a whole other thing. And there we are off trying to introduce too many things at the same time. So do not hesitate to make me go back. Oh, Tosh, nice. I love the light transition. Okay, we'll see you later, Tosh. I'm expecting to see.
Did you have any other feedback?
I was going to say you could get slightly darker down here on the edge if you wanted to try that. It's tough with watercolor, but try it.
I was trying to use the blue, the complement. I added some blue into the orange.
I like how that worked. Yeah, so maybe just a touch more blue. I think that worked out really well.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Thank you, sweetie. And I will send you the attendance after we're done here. I'm hoping this is feeling slightly relaxing.
Very much.
Even if like it's like a little bit, there's a real interesting, the relaxation that comes from painting is different from the relaxation of sitting on a beach. Sitting on a beach is kind of like reading a book, is like not really thinking about anything and not having to work too hard, because every skill you have is already, you've totally mastered it. You've mastered the ability to sit in a beach chair. You've mastered the ability to, like, I don't know, drink a margarita or sit and read a book, whatever it is that you do to relax. The relaxation that comes from painting is a little bit more like going to a workout. During the workout, you're pushing yourself a little bit harder than feels comfortable. But the pushing yourself, the trying, failing, trying it again, failing again, you know what I mean? That is actually, some people don't find that fun. You will find that after a while, trying to get to that place that you're doing, that is where the relaxation comes in. It's almost like a meditation. Gina Chua, who's the head of the news division of Reuters, who's a real big proponent of this program, said once that she said, I used to think meditation was emptying my mind. right? And then trying to meditate. It really isn't. Meditation is filling your mind with one thing. If all you're thinking about, Anik also said this once, if all I'm thinking about is that shape of the top of that leg, that transition between the light and the medium and the dark, if that's all you're thinking about, it is also very meditative, but a little bit different. So just to set up the expectation, and for those of you who are perfectionists, you got to let that go here. The only way you're going to get better at this is to make mistakes. And painting is not intuitive. It is not, drawing and painting are not intuitive processes. There are things that you'll find you'll grasp fairly easily, but it's a different language. And just like learning any other language, you're going to have to learn the rules and the structures to understand how to really make painting work for you. So let that be a process. Anik, not bad. If you, honey, if you want to like fix, you notice that your thing is sort of swooping up a little bit here, right? It's going like this.
Yeah, don't tell my mother.
So you can see how I created that, right? So take your background and just and make the angle a little bit like more extreme to the left here and a little bit more to the extreme to the right here, just to make it perfect. You know what I'm saying? And then really try to get a slightly darker, just towards the top here. Right here, towards that top edge, slightly dark, just a slightly darker edge to indicate things are going down.
Yep.
But good.
Thank you.
Yep. I know it's fun. He said, we've never done this. We just don't do this very much. We've got an hour. I've got more shapes. So you all just take your time and we'll move to the next shape in a minute. So how was everybody's holiday?
Busy,
What?
busy.
Busy? I know, Diana, you just seem to have hit the ground running.
Yeah. It's all
What's
right.
going on? Can you talk to us? Tell us.
No, it's, you know, the big contest we have and getting all the judging done. And then I was working on getting honorees, and now I'm telling everyone that sorry, we're not doing it.
Right.
We're just doing it virtually, and then I don't want to waste good honorees on a virtual event.
It's harder on the virtual event, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can't do a fundraiser out of that.
No.
It's just something for the winners of the regular contest.
It's so frustrating.
It's frustrating, but you know.
Maybe better that you don't have to do a full-on gala though.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't dare at this stage. I don't want the press club to be in charge of a super spreader event.
Right. Very key.
Yeah, and you know, I was even, of course, because now it's not televised, so I was invited to the Golden Globes on Sunday, and I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not going in this climate, even though they take all the precautions. I'm not doing it.
Right. Have you been boosted?
Yeah, absolutely. But I know,
Yeah, still.
yeah,
Christian, good.
Lisa
So you
had
can
been
still get it.
Lisa had been boosted and her husband had been both boosted. They both
Mhm.
got it and were pretty sick.
And they all got it. Yep, they still got
Yeah.
it. So Christian, the only thing I'm going to tell you here, and this is a variation, this is a 5 and this is a 3. And so you can see because your side here. Oh, that's Lucy's. Okay, Lucy, again,
The blue,
we're
the
having
blue one
this.
is Lucy's minus the green one, the next
All right,
one.
we'll get, so Lucy, I want you to notice, I'm noticing you're struggling to get your midtones, your half tones. So what is a half tone? It's halfway between dark and light. So you get your darks and lights really well, but look at here, the transition. We can't really see the difference between your core shadow and your light side or your dark side because they're too much the same value. So lighten this side so that I can see the edges right against this dark value here. Excellent work on the dark. Oh, I see, great. Yeah, like your dad has done here. Excellent. All right, you guys, we're gonna try. I think I have enough people. Well, spend another couple minutes working and then we'll get to the next shape.
Well, I was the only one who talked about the holidays, so.
Yeah, who else? I was really busy too. I made myself too busy this December and almost lost my mind. So even when I wasn't, the 2 weeks I wasn't teaching, I was trying to get 2 commissions done and shipping out a bunch of last minute work and building shipping crates for my paintings. And all of that stuff takes a long time.
Yeah, you need to rest, Leah.
I know. I'm trying, Sandra, I'm trying.
Because we're keeping you so busy during the year, you know.
I love it,
Plus your
though.
work.
Great. It's great. I mean, you know, the life of an artist is it's funny. People are like, oh, how great. It must be so wonderful. And I'm like,
So
it's
funny,
actually
really.
so much of a lot of work. Oh, Linda, lovely. Great colors there. Great transitions. Nice. It's so hard. But it's fun. It's exciting. Annika, nice. Not quite cube-like, a little bit more like a rectangle, but we'll take it. But we're really just working on painting, right? So less on the drawing. All right, so let's talk about the cylinder, which shows up in a lot of different forms. Cylinder, if I can show you here. Once again, this is tiring. I want to hear about everybody else's in a minute. So the cylinder has some kind of interesting things to know. We're aiming for this, right? So let's talk about how to draw that first, because there's a couple of key components to keep in mind that involve perspective. So a cylinder has a kind of a oval top, right? But the thing to remember about the cylinder is that the halfway point is not here in the middle. If you put your halfway point here, the cylinder doesn't look right. The halfway point is about here, meaning that if we were to look at the top of this cylinder, these two sides would be equal. But when we look at it from the side, this back side is smaller, this front side is bigger. So you can see it kind of busts out a little bit more like this. And then when it gets to the back side, it kind of angles in. It's almost flat, almost like a road. So that's the key to making this look kind of realistic. And then 2 straight lines, and then a curved bottom. Even though that we know rationally that the cylinder, whoops, I'm sorry, here. This up a little bit so you can see it. There we go. Even though that we know rationally that the cylinder sits flat on a table, right? And then of course our table. Then let's see, I think it'll go, kind of goes like this. If the light's coming from the left, there's the shadow. We know rationally that this cylinder is flat across the bottom, but because this cylinder, it's involving perspective, because this cylinder has sides, we see not only the front of the cylinder, but we also see the side of the cylinder. And just like a cube, right, where the front of this, if like here, if I draw a cube like this, right, I know that this front and this side are very clearly, there's a clear distinction. The edge of here comes to here. And notice these two sides, if I put them next to each other, would be the same side, but they don't look the same side when I'm drawing them attached to each other. The one that's farther away angles up. That's the same thing that's happening here. So it's kind of straight here and curved up. So when we're looking at it, there are sides to there's sides to the cylinder as well. So you can go ahead and sketch that. We'll talk a lot more about perspective as we get into other things. But if you've ever noticed how difficult it is to draw the mouth of a coffee cup, that's because you have to draw these two halves looking different. Looking the one farther away looking smaller, the one closer up looking a little bit bigger. Take a picture of that. And just to emphasize this, halfway. How was everybody else's holiday? Anybody else have a good one? Do anything fun?
I worked through mine and I got COVID.
Oh God. So basically a lot of people on this call have had COVID.
It wasn't
Or
bad.
have it.
It's not bad, honestly.
Mhm.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
But yeah.
Who
it was
got
fine.
COVID? Who got COVID?
Anik had COVID, right?
Yeah, I know
Anik,
that.
You guys had COVID. Pari just said that she got COVID.
Oh, okay, party, yeah.
Oh, Jessica, hello. How are
Hi.
you? Jessica
I'm good, how are
Pryor is
you?
here from Queens, New York. Good to see you, sweetie.
Yeah, you too, yeah, and everybody.
Good to
Hi,
see you.
Sandra.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Here, I'm gonna pull this
Thank
off just
you.
for a second so we can all see each other. I just want to like have everybody say hello. I'm removing the spotlight. Go into gallery view so you can see everybody. We can just see hello.
Hi, plein air girls.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Linda. Hi, Claudia. Hi, Christian. Hi, Ani. Hi, Annika. Hi, Pari.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Diana. Hey, hi, Sandra. It's great to see everybody. So anyway, sorry, stopping. Now we're going back. I'll spotlight again. Sometimes I like to make sure everybody sees everyone else. So Christian and Lucy, our big question for you is, do you have pets?
Because that's what we really care about.
Yes.
Yes, it's true.
We don't
Oh.
have pets, but we have neighbors that have a cat, and that cat is living in our house.
You don't need your own pet.
Yeah,
No,
We
they're
don't need our
owned by a
pet.
cat. They're owned by a cat.
it's actually quite convenient that way.
Yeah,
I love it.
they pay for it. We
The
have it.
neighbor happy? Is the neighbor happy about it?
They don't know.
Do you get fed twice or what?
We kidnapped their cat.
Pari, I'll tell you, I love your sphere. You really nailed it. And I'm going to give you a couple of things to fix, to improve your cube. So one of the things you're noticing, right, is that it's like you have two diamonds kind of right on top of each other,
Yeah.
right? Up like this. Here, I'll paint them in so you can see them. So number one, you've got this happening,
Uh-huh.
right? So if you want this to look more cube-like, you need to make this square on top smaller, and you do that by, and the great thing about paint is it's just super easy to do it. You do that by making this line angle more to the left, and this line angle more to the right. And then you can take some red paint and paint out that extra.
Uh-huh.
Right? So that's number one. That's the first thing I want you to do. The second thing I want you to do is to observe. Try to decide if I want your values to be, you know what, actually that's it. I think your values are pretty good. I like the distinction between your 1s, your 2s, and your 3s. So you're in good shape. Other than that, just fix the top so it looks a little bit more like in perspective. Very nice. Sphere, really beautiful.
Thank you.
It took a long time, didn't it? To like get that thing.
I think I realized once I relax.
Yeah, that, well, it's honestly, it's just a thing. Like you have to, like, it takes time. And
I'm
that's
just
what I
really
want.
trying to get to the end, and this, I don't know why I'm rushing.
Well, because you're excited, you want to paint, you know, you want to like, you know, we want to do everything right away. It's so exciting. Using color is so exciting. Using the paintbrush is so exciting. Using all of it is so exciting. It's totally makes sense. We have to like, part of these classes, these beginning classes in January is also to remind us of how do I say it? Oh boy. Let's see, water leaking in. Is to remind us of how long things take, right? How much time I should be spending on each task. Those of you who, might remember that I've been working on this big 8-foot painting, which is the biggest painting I've ever made. And one of the things I really have to remind myself of as I'm doing it is, I'm used to working 4 to 5 feet, but 8 feet, twice the size is really what this painting is. And what I'm really finding is I have to remember that it takes longer to paint like something that is that big. Something that would take me, a sky background that would take me 5 or 10 minutes on a smaller painting takes me half an hour on a big painting. So it's kind of helpful to remind yourself, and we always are reminding ourselves, this is how long it's supposed to take. You know what I mean? This is how long it takes. So there's an understanding of that, an organic understanding of that, that helps you kind of get through the, oh, this shouldn't be taking, you know, less time. It should be, this is the amount of time I'm using 3 brushes at the same time, or whatever. All right, so once you've got your, what do you call it, your cylinder in, once again, we've got light coming from this direction. And once again, we have this top. I'm going to actually move this side over to about here. I'm going to say that this is going to be a 1 and this is going to be a 1, but we're going to do the same thing that we did with the cube, where we're going to slightly darken at the edge. And then this is kind of a 2 to 3. This is a 4. And then don't forget your reflected edge, which is a 2. And this is 5. So once again, that's a rounded object. So here, hold on, paintbrush. So I'm going to start with my 5, just for simplicity's sake. I'm going to work my hard edge on my shadow. I'll pick a different color for my background this time. What do I have here? Oh, my new favorite color. It's ridiculous, but it's really fantastic. Is this copper called Iridescent Copper. Fine, it's a golden product.
Oh, I have that. It's good.
It's amazing. My God.
I don't do acrylic much, but I do have that one.
It's
I have
really
everything.
amazing. Yeah. So here it is. It's kind of like using, when somebody handed me a tube and said, here, use this, I was like, no way. That's like putting sparkles. That's like what 5-year-olds do with sparkles and glitter.
Leah, sparkly and iridescent paint is amazing, and everybody should have it.
Right, exactly. So that's the point, right? I'm being snotty.
And also it comes in gouache, so you need it in gouache too.
Ooh, does it come
and
in
it comes
also?
in oil.
I need to get it in oil and gouache.
I use it a lot in my topiary cats. And
yeah,
also,
because it gives a nice little glow without being too, like I tried the gold and the silver. It doesn't do the same thing.
Oh, I have the gold and the silver. I have like all of them. I use it for decorative effects. I don't use it to paint. Like, I actually don't use it the way you're painting now, like I don't tend to mix it with other things. I use it as a subtle decorative effect, but it's very specific. Like I have very, I don't, yeah, it's a
That's
very
how I
specific
use it
thing.
too. That's how I use
Yeah.
it too. I just thought I got it here, so I'll throw it out here so people can use it. I usually don't use it like this. I'll usually use it to create a highlight somewhere, an extra highlight. What's really cool is if you put it on like a green thing, or you put it around the edge of a flower, particularly if you turn the light off, it will start to glow in the dark. It'll start to give a little bit of extra glow to that flower. So
like,
it's often working an edge where it's fun.
Leah, I put silver paint on that baby commission that I just did.
Oh yeah.
It's real subtle.
Really
It's subtle, but it's just in the corners, but it makes the whole thing pop. And if depending on the light and where you're standing in front of the painting, it'll I did it in that commission I did with the girl in the field. Remember the trans girl?
Yeah, yeah.
I put gold in that painting too. Real subtle. But when you walk by, it just pops out at you. It's nice.
Exactly. It is these metals are really, I'm a big fan too. I'm with you. All right. So once again, we've got a kind of light color that we're putting everywhere, right? This is like a slightly tinted white with a touch of green, so it's not exactly white. And then the trick is, so I'm painting everything here. And then green to my brush to get that. I don't want it to be this strong, but I want it to be slightly darker just at the edge than it is. It can stay light, the same value as we come down here, but I want it dark just at the edge. We want this edge not to be what we call a lost edge. Okay, and then as before, right? We've got our 2 and our 3 happening here. And once again, I want that edge soft. You may have to find your kind of continually so that you don't, as you drag like dark into light or light into dark, you'll find that you're kind of constantly, I'm constantly going back and grabbing more white. Otherwise, my light gets kind of inundated by the dark and I lose the edge. That's what often happens. You're probably finding that. So you see, I'm kind of like trying to produce soft edge and then I'm going to get darker. Yeah. Saving my reflected edge. I want this to be dark, but not as dark. And then once again, see, right? Kind of. So it's a lot like the spear, a little bit easier, I think. The last thing we'll do is a cylinder. We've got about half an hour, so I'm going to have you guys do this for a little while. And then I'm like, okay, this got to get a little bit darker. Yeah. It's funny how quickly you can lose that transition from the medium to the very dark. You'll notice I've had it and then lost it a couple of times. Also, what happens is as your paint dries, it becomes a little lighter. Where is Emma today, Christian? She working?
Sorry,
Where is Emma today?
where is Emma today?
Yeah.
I don't know, we basically, I've been working at home from home for the
Right.
past 18 months or so. And I think Emma mostly did so too. So
So you don't get to see each other very often.
not really.
Oh, that's too
So,
bad.
and also Emma's writing in English, I'm writing in German. So and
Right.
everybody's super busy, of course. So,
Right. Oh my God. What a
Especially now.
crazy.
but
Right.
at some point, she mentioned these classes a few months ago. I thought, yeah, that's a good idea.
And then you got completely swamped and overwhelmed, right?
That's
With
right.
other things. Yep. We
And
did it.
and your email, I don't know, I think the email came this week or so. And I
Yes.
saw it and I thought, okay, this is it.
This is the moment. This is the moment.
For once.
Yes, do it once. And then if you can build it, it is like working out. You kind of build in the habit, then it
Yeah.
becomes, I think it becomes kind of pleasurable. You get to know people. It's
Yeah.
helpful to have people kind of expect you, right? I haven't seen Claudia in a while. You might even notice on the recording that we'll talk about you when you're not there. Like often Claudia has heard recordings a bit like Diana, and I'll be like, where's Claudia? So
That's the only way I get to see Claudia.
I know. Claudia used to be Diana's assistant in LA, and now she's in Paris, tearing up the journalism world and the PhD world, and it's all very exciting.
Yeah. Claudia has the dream job now.
She has the dream job. Yep.
But do you know when you're coming to LA, Claudia? Is not Claudia with us anymore?
Leah,
Ugh. It's been raining so much in Portland, that Oregon, where I am, that it's leaking in my studio. So I have like water coming in from the outside. My studio is in my garage, which is mostly okay. But in one particular, I'm like, I have to grab towels just to make sure it doesn't go into painting territory. It's kind of ridiculous. Sandra, your backyard, Jesus. Wow.
that was nice, huh? The cats didn't like it. By the way, so I've just sent you my line.
Oh.
Any kind of, what could
I'm looking.
tell me what I need to do next too.
I would, I'm just looking here because we don't want to do too much. Okay.
And
eyes are
Diana
looking
too,
good.
because Diana's been helping me with a line.
Yeah, I would say, can you add a little bit of pink? Do you have gouache?
Yeah, but I'd rather not. Where?
Okay.
I mean, I'd
I
rather
was
stay with one
thinking,
from-
so I guess what I see is that the sort of around the edge of the nose, it's kind of this darker rim, almost like the eyes. And then the nose itself has a little bit of pink in it. You could actually just keep darkening. So
I can make it more
darkening-
pink.
Yeah, make it a bit more pink. I think that would be nice. And maybe emphasize the darkness of his mouth lines as they
Yes.
come down,
Yes.
right, a little bit more. And then I'm looking to see, I
Keeps
like
being
your,
too light.
I would make it a little bit darker under the white, under the eyes.
yeah. Yep,
So that
would
the white
also
is not white. you mean.
darken.
under the white. So keep the
Yeah.
white, but under the
Alright.
white. What I was wondering is he's got these nice little light pops on, on the, over his eyes, this part here, hold on.
Yeah.
This part here, these are kind
Alright.
of nice, which means he should be a little bit darker here.
Got it.
So you can push, but
Yes, you're
I
absolutely
like
right.
your simplicity here. So, and I like you've got it dark on the left side and lighter on the right side. So yeah, I think you can just sort of start, you're very appropriately and cautiously going darker slowly.
Okay, thank you.
Looking great, Sandra.
Thank
Yeah, it
you.
really
I haven't
is.
messed it up yet. Let's put it this
No, you've done great.
way. That's how it works.
Totally. Sandra, I credit you. You really are getting the rhythm of the water the wateriest mediums, ink and watercolor. You're really starting to get that balance of how to simplify, but also sort of not going too dark right away, so you can kind of layer in those darks gradually. It's really great.
You know, I launched into watercolor a year ago now. So it's interesting to see.
Wow. Oh, look at your Lucy. Nice gold. We inspired. So Lucy, once again, I'm just going to say your light needs to be lighter. Your medium needs to be, your light and your medium need to be a little bit lighter, right? A little bit lighter. You're losing your transitions, your midtones, work on your threes. Just to be clear, midtones are harder to get because they're darker than light, but they're lighter than the dark.
Yeah, I think you can actually see them quite well on my paper, but the picture is not as well taken as I thought it would be.
Try it again. I think that even if the picture isn't exactly right, you need to push it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Push the contrast a little bit more. It'll help. Yeah, it's really coming along. How are you doing, Diana? You want to send us over?
I can send it. I haven't done a lot. I've been working on details and a little bit on the background that I messed up. But that's okay. I still have time to. I'm working in acrylic, so I can paint over.
That's really good.
Right. That's the main thing. Anik, let's see. Ooh, nice, Anik. I like this work you're doing with blues and oranges. I'm appreciating the subtlety of your mixing. Very nice. Very nice. Do you want me to, should I show you? Let's see, Diana. Oh, he's coming. He's coming. Oh, hi, baby. Do you guys want me to show you the last one, which is a cylinder with a hole in it? Pipe. Should we try it? Let's try it. I'm gonna do this one on, I wonder if I can do this on watercolor paper. Maybe I'll grab another. From me. Back. Oh. Uh-oh.
What
Somebody's
happened?
in trouble. I heard somebody getting yelled at. I don't know who it is.
I think it was Sunny.
Jessica's cat.
Oh, Sunny. I thought she said
Oh.
Sunny. Sunny.
Oh, Sunny's always in
The
trouble.
golden period is over, Sunny. Your mommy's not gonna let you do just anything anymore.
Sorry.
That's okay. What did Sunny do?
She had ripped out her bed from her crate and was trying to tear it apart and partially succeeded.
Right.
Oh.
Christian, that's really pretty good. As you can see, you've kind of a little bit lost your light. I like your light to your medium. You've a little bit lost the medium to the darker. So push this contrast a little.
Leah,
like
can I
it.
ask?
Yeah.
You know the white that you use?
Yeah.
This is how you know I don't understand anything.
No, do it.
What's the difference between using titanium white or mixing white? I've never, I mean,
You can't mix white.
You can't mix white. You mean what? Mixing white with another color?
Did you mean
No,
black? Because white can't
No,
mix.
the color is called mixing white. So
Oh,
on
mixing
acrylic-
white. I think that is mixing white, I believe.
What's on the
The-
back of the tube?
It's
Yeah.
probably not as white.
It's going to be titanium and zinc mix.
Yeah,
Almost
that's what I was
guaranteed.
gonna-
If
that's
you
what I was
go
gonna
on the
say.
back of the tube, you're going to see two pigment codes. They're both going to start with PW. One might be, what's mine? PW5,
Yeah.
PW6. Let's see. PW6 and PW4, it's probably going to say. So
Yeah.
if you look on the back of your paint tube, it will be somewhere. That's how mine looks.
So yeah, there are two kind of major whites that people use a lot. One is titanium, the other is
Three.
zinc.
Three.
Titanium, what? Buff? I
Lead.
don't- Lead. Oh yeah, true. Lead white. There's
Oh,
three
but
types
not
of
an
whites.
acrylic. That's only
Not
in
an
the
acrylic.
oils.
Chinese.
So
white.
titanium, I mean, yes, there's all kinds of other colors of white, China white, blah, blah, blah. All of those things are mixes, but basically there is titanium white and there is zinc white. I find zinc white is slightly more transparent and a little bit more irritating to me. Like, so in my mind, more irritating. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do with it. Titanium white is a little bit more opaque. It means that it covers up more. So it's a little bit easier, in my mind, a little bit easier to erase with it. Zinc is, yes. And then mixing white is, but a lot of people, artists, as you can tell, I'm an artist that have very particular feelings about my white. Other artists will have very different feelings about their white that are as equally particular, but different. So there's all kinds of layers of white, but those are the two basics. I mean, you can try one and see what you like. See what
I've just never, I like to pretend I paint, but
right.
never.
Sure,
I've never actually.
There's a million things to know. There's a lot of things to know. Jessica,
I do this basics.
Jessica Pryor, who's on this call, is a really great, because she likes to try everything and because she spends so much of her time painting, and has such good training from school. She knows a lot. She knows a ton about every single pigment, every single medium, all the different types. Right, Jessica? Is that a fair categorization?
I'm not as geeky as some people are. I am geeky enough to
Really?
be able
You're
to have.
geeky enough.
You're
You're
person we know.
geeky enough.
There are people who will out geek me, but I don't have time for it, and I think they're all insane, frankly, and they don't even paint, but they like to be judgy about it. I do know a lot about materials, though. If you are interested in pigment codes, and you should know your pigment codes. So the names on your paints, like grass green, all the names that have funny names, they usually are very meaningless. You want to look on what's on the back of your tube. And that's how you know what's in your tube. So mixing white doesn't mean much. It's probably titanium and zinc. Most titaniums are blended with zinc. Most of them are. Even if they say titanium, they probably still are blended with some zinc. It just tones it down a little bit.
Very nice, Linda, by the way. If you guys want to see a really well done cylinder, I like what Linda Pasquini has just sent across the thread, the blue one. All right, I'm going to very quickly show you how to draw your cylinder with the hole in it. So once again, we're going to find our halfway point, which is about here. And then you're going to draw a little rim around the edge. It's just a second. Right line, straight down, and like the other one, you're going to have a curved bottom here, here, here. And then here's what's really interesting about the cylinder, and this is going to come up every time you do something like a cup or a vase with an open mouth. If the light is coming from here, this side is light on the outside, but on the inside, this side is light. Can you see why? The light comes in and it reflects, it goes inside, so it bounces off the far edge. So on the outside, it's light here. On the inside, it's light here. That means it's darker here, 2 to 3 here, 2 to 3 here, 4 here, reflected edge here. So as you're going through, let me send you a picture of this because I find it really helpful to look at it. Where's my book? Where are you? Where are you? I just had you. Actually, take a picture of this cylinder so you can see how the light works. This is absolutely consistent in any situation where the light is doing the same thing. There you go. There you go. So you can take a look at that as you're trying to paint it. Hold on just a second. Come on, big boy. I know you want to go out. So. So if you want a quick demo on how this looks, once again, got our dark. Always you'll see the core shadow is pretty dark, often the darkest thing. Meow, meow, meow. Come here. Come here. Say hello. Come on up. Poor Hermes wants to go outside, but I think it's too cold and rainy and wet. So I'm not letting him.
Oh, sometimes when that happens, I just open the door to let them look. And of course they go out anyway, and 2 seconds later they're back in.
Really?
But they
the
don't.
big problem is I can't let him out, right? Because he's got to be in his catio. And then he takes a long time. He gets kind of shocked by the cold and he moves away from the door. So I can't
get him back.
Yeah, I can't get him back. So it becomes like this. I put him out in snow because I wanted him to know what snow looked like. And felt like, well, no, he found it really confusing and freezing, but he wouldn't, he couldn't move in it. So he got stuck.
I got the same problem with the dog.
Right, he got stuck. He was like sitting out in his catio, but he wouldn't come to the door so I could let him in. All right, so you see, I've got a light on the, outside of the whole rim. And I've got a light, it's just kind of slightly tinted white green here. Now I'm going to start adding in my darks, my darkers. Right here. Has anybody found this helpful, by the way? Is this helpful? This lesson in terms of
Yes.
all the things that we're going to do, all the things.
But this is really helpful. It's better what my art teachers do. So
what? It's better than what your teachers at the school do?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny. I had a meeting with my other teachers. There's 3 other teachers, and we talked about it. And we all talked about what we would do in our classes if we could go back to basics. So Marie, by the way, is not starting pastel landscapes until next week. Her mom's going into surgery this week. She needs to take care of her. And we really spent a lot of time figuring out what is it that people have a hard time with, right? And we know these classes move super fast. So we're like, we just really want to luxuriate in basics in January so that we can break down some of these skills and make it accessible, you know, give you a little bit of an idea of what is expected of you. Here we go. So you can see, can you see how this is working, you guys? Like, so remember, as light's coming down the inside of the cup, and then of course this top edge is super light, this little rim. So when you're painting a coffee cup or a teacup, the direction that the light's coming from, it's going to be dark on the inside. Helpful hint, number 200, you know, tricks of the trade. Parlor tricks of the trade. There you go. So that'll be, for those who have time, do it. For those who are, you know, if you just spent all your time doing spheres, I'd be happy.
Spheres sind diese Kugeln, oder?
Ein hollow sphere ist eine leere Kugel und eine Sphere ist eine komplette Kugel.
Go away, Pebbles. Get, no, you can't be there. Go. No, seriously, go. Get. Oh my God.
The pets are losing their minds.
I know I joined you late, but I think I'm gonna leave you early too because
What?
I have so much to do.
All right.
It was good to paint for a few minutes.
Are we going to
For
be
now.
seeing a little more of you next week, or are you still kind of like running?
I don't know, but I hope so.
Okay, great. Great.
So,
oh, Sandra, yes. Look what happened when you darkened, pinkened. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's
I
everything.
think I'm almost done.
I think you are too.
I'm just going to do the whiskers.
Yes. Good job. Can I post this on the Instagram?
Of course you can.
Thank you.
oh,
It's
it's
wonderful.
beautiful, Sandra.
It's
Oh, thank
wonderful.
Yeah.
Bravo. You better put this on Facebook too. This is a good one.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Diana.
Bye,
We'll
Diana.
see you soon.
See you.
Great work on the horse today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so tomorrow's class. Tomorrow's class is beginning drawing. So we're really going back. We're going to do a very, very old exercise I haven't taught in a long time. I think you guys will really enjoy it if you decide to go to tomorrow's Drawing Made Easy class. Sunday, we are going to do, in my class, we are going to do something similar that we've done here. We're going to do these, we're going to do, although of course, like Diana and Sandra, you're welcome to just bring in a project and work on it. You do not have to do the lesson. You're absolutely welcome to come in, and if you need help, I'll help you with it along the way. But because Sunday is an oil painting class, we're going to do the same thing, but with oil. And we might do a little bit more. We might actually try kind of a still life organization of objects like this. So I can mix it up a little bit, but still do the same practice the same principles. So you can come in to Sunday's class. You can come into Saturday's class. Next week, we've got the full schedule. As I said, all these classes will be recorded. So all of these classes will be recorded and are available on the YouTube link for free. I'm about to send you across the thread. So let me get that.
Oof.
So you can find it. This one will be up probably by the end of the day, depending on when Holly gets to it. YouTube. All right, the YouTube link has virtually every class organized by subject, organized by medium, and you can find it here. Does anybody need to see the new schedule, or have you all got that? I think I can put that up too. Schedule. I'll have to look a minute to grab the schedule. I will, oh, I know, it's in another thread. I can do it here. Okay, here is the schedule. I'm putting that across as well, so you have all of the classes. So you know when they are. I mean, the abstract painting classes on Tuesday is really awesome. It's quite fun. It's very different. It's taught by my colleague, Carissa Trask. She's a wonderful abstract artist. It does a lot to, you would think that composition and color and value wouldn't play as big a role. They actually play a bigger role, because when you're working with non-figurative work, you still need to have a good sense of composition.
In fact, that's all you have.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of, so it essentializes it in a way that's kind of wonderful. So really wonderful. So highly recommend you pick up you try the recording, or you try, the recording is really just this class with some WhatsApp pictures inserted. So, and maybe you'll hear us talking about you. See, Christian, now you have to come back, because you, Lutz, you have to come back, because we'll talk about you if you don't.
I realized.
Where's Christian?
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, I think we a few of the classes we can't take because of the time difference. But
right,
Lucy,
yes.
I think she would be into this faces drawing class, and
yes, I know that's
just
a little late.
watch the
Although
video.
Kari did it last night, it was 11:30.
Well, don't
It
get
would be
any ideas
12:30
into
for
our
you
head.
guys. It would be 12:30 for you.
11:30 maybe a little late.
Yeah, but you can
I
take you can watch the video on that one.
Yeah,
yes, yeah,
that's what
really
we'll
the
do.
Europe classes, it's you could potentially do the yeah, it would still be 12:30. It'd be too late.
Yeah.
Hopefully
There's
one
still
day
school.
I'll get Carissa to teach at Carista's not really a morning person. She just doesn't do mornings. So I can't really get her to do morning class,
No
but which it has to be today, which it has to be. But definitely everything's available on recording, and these classes at the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, are all geared so that you should be able to make them.
Yeah, very.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We've got about 5-10 minutes left. Let's see what you can get done.
Okay, I'm sending you a finished line.
Send it over. Oh, I'm stoked about that, Cassandra. Really stoked.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. The first thing I wanted to paint when I launched to What Comes was a lion. And I did two of them.
That.
Actually, they don't look as awful as I remember them, but she's a better lion.
Let's see. God damn, Sandra. That's pro. That's really pro.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy.
I love it.
Well,
I love that you have, what I get very excited about in seeing this is how loose you've gotten with your mark making, how much it's about. So if you guys want to see where this will take you, these exercises that we're doing, look at Sandra's lion. She has amazing transitions between, if you'll notice, she's drawn very little fur. And the only place she's really adding lots of fur texture is where light areas meet dark areas. So that's exactly what we're doing. It's phenomenal. Excellent. God, great. I love it so much. Going on Instagram. I hope it doesn't intimidate anybody. I should say results not typical. Like those weight loss programs, you know, like you won't necessarily be able to do
Like
this.
Sized free model.
It's funny, the first class I ever taught to journalists as part of this work at our Work for Arts program, Art at Work program, was a class, a group of Janet Roberts students at Reuters in New York. There was like 10 or 15, 20, I think 20 people in that first beginning class. And I taught them how to draw a flower. And then one of the journalists was a young, real hotshot reporter who had just started working at Reuters. And she had been working on a story. She had been doing a report. She had done a bunch of reporting on women, on trafficking, child and women trafficking in Africa. She's from Eritrea, so from her part of the world, from her country. And she had so many statistics. You know, you have so many statistics, you're just completely overwhelmed, right? You don't know what to put first. You don't know how to write, like you're kind of, so she was struggling with this story. And then she came in and she stopped thinking about the story for an hour and a half. And she tried to draw this flower and it was hard. And then she went back to her desk and she banged out a piece that was nominated for a Pulitzer. I like to say, results not typical. That's but Salome, oh God, what was her last name? She's at the Times of London now. But she really, like, this can have an impact in a positive way on your work. There's something about this visual thinking, this construction, this style of making things happen that is analogous to constructing anything, whether it's like you're trying to construct something in words, you're trying to create, like Pari probably has to do a lot, pictures and words together, right? You're visually trying to like put these things in a way that flows, but also one image feeds into the words. So you will find, I think over time, that this training, even though it's not directly related to your journalism work, I found that. I was a journalist in my first career. And I found that this helped me a lot in being able to parse through. I was able to find, after I learned to draw, I was able to find the sort of lead much better in a story. I was able to like kind of visually see how all the pieces had to fit together much better. And more actually kind of in a more fun way, I found that like if I watch a movie, I'm much more able to see the story exactly from the beginning based on the elements. I can kind of figure out what's going to happen at the end. Like, because you know, once you learn how to construct things, you see that like what's being set up for you is going to lead to a particular conclusion. So that is like the way that learning the visual for me helped me as a writer, helped me as a professional. I mean, I haven't written in a long time, but I haven't done journalism in probably about 10 years. But the first 10 years I had to make a living doing something. So I still did it as I was learning how to paint. Oh, Anik, wonderful. Christian, good. Well, Lucy, good. There you go. You're starting to get that value differentiation. Excellent. Christian, excellent. There's a kind of, it's funny, Christian, you and Lucy have very different mark making styles. I don't know if you guys can see this. Lucy's is the blue with the orange background. Christian's is the green. Honor
I'm
that.
more the depressed type.
No, it's just softer. It's just softer. honor that. Honor those edges as they come to you. It's a very distinctly voice, and both are right. As long as you get your values right and your shapes right and your contrast good, it does, you know, there's a lot of room to play around. I just think that's interesting. Anik, bravo.
It's finally a vase.
You got
The
it.
first
You got it.
proper vase in my life.
Your first
Thank
proper
you very
vase in your
much.
life.
But, you
So
know,
maybe that's what we'll sketch next week, a vase or something. I'm gonna figure
Oh,
some
yeah.
kind of simple thing. We're gonna talk a lot next week about mixing colors. We're gonna be talking about, here, I'm gonna stop the recording.